All right, welcome to a little bit of a different podcast today. Different for two reasons. The first reason, you may notice, we are on location and the weather is absolutely glorious. Some of you at home may recognise where we are, the infamous red phone box behind us. Of course, we are at the foot of Pen y Fan. Second reason, second difference today, we usually talk to veterans, talking about the past. Today, I'm going to talk to a serving soldier about his current career and where he's going to be going moving forward. So yeah, George from the 1st Battalion of Royal Irish.
Hello.
Welcome, how are you?
Thank you, I'm very good.
You brought the weather with you?
I did bring the weather with me, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's lovely.
You know, I've come here many times when I was serving and I have never ever been here when the sun's been out, ever.
Yeah.
I think, I see people that come and tab up Pen y Fan and I think, yeah, it's either AI that they've done it when the sun's out because it's not. I've always been here and it's like that. Anyway, so we want to talk about, obviously you're serving now, you've been serving for 3 years, is that correct?
Coming up 3 years now.
Coming up to 3 years,
yeah.
Okay. So what I like to do with a lot of the podcasts is I like to get a bit of a feel about, everyone has their personal reasons to why they joined the military.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was your reasoning and why the Royal Irish?
I think I'd wanted to join the army, where in the army that'd be, I didn't know at the time, but pretty much my entire life. And then started doing a bit more research in high school, college. Infantry was the nitty gritty, down and dirty kind of job. So I definitely wanted something like that. And then put it off for a few years, went to uni, did college, all that. Uni wasn't for me. And decided to just give it a go, might as well. While I'm still young, still fit. And then I joined 10th of Jan, I think it was, 3 years ago,
Yeah?
Yeah.
Enjoying it so far?
Yeah, it's been good.
So what I want to touch on as well is what I think people have, I think for the civilian population, they don't really understand about the military, the current state of the military, if you like, or what you go through to join. So if you can obviously remember, it's 3 years ago, what was the process of joining like? Your first introduction into the military, went along to the Army Careers Officer ticket. Do they still even have them where they're in person or?
No, they probably do somewhere. Mine wasn't like that. Mine was all online. Pretty much the entire process was online, yeah. It took a long time as well.
Yeah.
I hear lads who I'm in with now say that it only took them a few months. It took me almost a year to go from the joining process to actually getting into training. So yeah, it's definitely changed, I think, from probably when you were in. But yeah, it's a bit of a long process now.
Yeah, I remember like used to go down to an Army Careers Office and walk in and sign, and I always like joke about whoever's on that front desk will try and get you into their unit.
Yeah.
Now I'm quite a big lad, I don't know if you've noticed, but you kind of, when you walk into the Army Careers Office, they weigh you up, they look at you. There was a guy that was the Coldstream Guards, and he was like, "You'd make an excellent guardsman," and I was like, "Nope, Power Edge, that's what I want to do," and that's where I obviously went. So yeah, when you kind of went into the Royal Irish, just describe for us sort of your experiences kind of with basic training. How did you find it? Because again, mixed reviews. Some people love it. I wasn't a big fan, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
Definitely a life-changing experience. I mean, you go from, even for me who had been researching and watching all the documentaries you can think of about the army, it's just completely not what you expect when you first join. You go on your first exercise and it's just a complete different experience. It's what you're used to. But it was really enjoyable at the start. Phase 1 was pretty tight. Like, I mean, you're going from basically not knowing anything military to straight in the thick of it. The phys is pretty tight in training. Yeah, you're constantly busy. I don't think you don't really get your weekends in Phase 1, so you were just constantly working. A lot of corporal, a lot of all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it relaxes in Phase 2. You obviously get your... I mean, I'd picked Royal Irish end of Phase 1 anyway. I knew where I wanted to go. But yeah, Phase 2, it's a bit more laid back, a bit more... You get treated a bit more like a soldier. And yeah, Phase 2 was a lot better than Phase 1, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I don't miss the weather like this.
No, I don't... I mean, I've been away obviously recently, but this is not... I've not missed this at all.
I joke about it, and like, you know, there are things I miss about the military, the camaraderie, you know, that's that brotherhood that you make, sisterhood, brotherhood, you know, where you meet other people, friends for life, and that is a true statement, I believe. You know, I'm still in touch with guys that I served with sort of 20 odd years ago.
Yeah.
you forget times like this. You kind of remember the good things, and you forget when you're in Brecon like this. Like I say, never been here when the weather's not been like this. When you're in Brecon, under a poncho, it's minus God knows what, and you know, you're thinking, what am I doing here? So you don't kind of miss them, but the friendships that you develop and stuff, and the tight-knit communities and the life lessons you learn. I always say about
massively,
yeah, you know, you learn a lot. I still resort now back to kind of the life lessons that I learned when I was 17, 18-year-old coming through Power Ridge Depot. Yeah. Do you feel the same, that some of the kind of stuff that you learned has carried you through? I know obviously it's only been 3 years, but do you rely on them kind of things as well? Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does change your mindset, even just going through those 6-7 months of basic training. It really does change your mindset. In terms like phys, you really get into a kind of, you just keep repeating the same things over 6-7 months, and it's really good in terms of your discipline. But all my civvy mates, they don't have the same kind of discipline that I think a lot of the lads that I know do in the army. It helps give you a bit of, think of the word, like purpose. Purpose is a huge thing, I think, that you get when you join, and yeah, it just gives you a big mindset change, and you look at life differently. I think you look at life in terms of you can do that, whereas before you wouldn't have thought you could do. Yeah, I think you learn a lot about yourself. Yeah, because you're placed in positions that of hardship, like you say. Yeah. You know, you kind of learn a lot about yourself, and you do see people coming through training fall by the wayside. You know, for whatever reason, good or bad. You know that it's not for them. It kind of, they made that decision, and it, you know, mentally, their mental capacity is not up for it. Yeah. And it isn't for everyone. I say that, but I still believe it's a good career. So to anyone that's kind of wanting to join up, you recommend it as a career? Yeah, definitely. Even if it isn't for long, even if it is for the minimum 4 years, I think it's so good for when you get out and you go to a civvy job. It gives you just an edge on maybe other people that want that job. Yeah, definitely. Because of those life skills, and again, them values that are instilled into you when you go through training. No, absolutely. So you've gone through basic training, you've got to your battalion. How was your first encounter when you got to your battalion? Was it kind of a scary, because I remember walking into kind of Aldershot within the 2nd Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, and all these kind of Falklands veterans with big moustaches that were still in like around my time. It was a scary environment. Yeah. Did you feel the same sort of sense of, what have I let myself in for? In an affectionate way, if you know what I mean. Yeah, not in a bad way at all, yeah, but definitely. A bit intimidating, isn't it? It was very intimidating, yeah. So we had the 3 companies, rifle companies when we first joined, and I passed out with 4 lads, but they all went to another rifle company. I was the only one that went into mine, and when you're one person coming into an already established group of people, an already established company, it's, I think, even more intimidating, because these lads they're all mates, they all know each other, they've known each other years, and you're just that new lad that comes along. I think I was very quiet at the start. I didn't want to make too much of an appearance. That's probably a good thing, it's how you blend in, yeah. They call it grey manning, and it is a good thing sometimes. You don't want to create too much of a scene, but yeah, it was good. And the Royal Irish is a very close-knit regiment. Anyway, it's very small. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's from around the same areas. So that definitely was a bit more intimidating than maybe another regiment would have been. But, I had recently had Tim Collins, who is like, you know, I had him on the podcast quite recently, and he was obviously a commanding officer of one of the Royal Irish battalions back in the kind of early 2000s of the Iraq conflicts and stuff. And he says the same about the kind of the close-knit bond within the battalions. Yeah. So yeah, just echoing kind of really what he said really. So yeah, kind of moving forward with the military. It's funny really, because every generation will tell you that their generation was harder coming through the military. Yeah. Now, you know, I know in life, I think we've seen a big shift in life with the way that the kind of world is now over the last maybe 10 years. Would you say that's been kind of related back in the army as well? It's a bit of a difficult one, because I know you've only been in 3 years, and you can't really compare to perhaps when I was in, but have you heard rumblings from some of the senior staff there? That's what I was going to say. Yeah, so there's a lot of guys that have been in probably the same amount of time as you, or that you were in. Yeah. They've been to most of the major conflicts in the last like 20, 30 years, and
Yeah, they definitely say that it has been toned down a bit. I think both with just in a lot of the aspects of the army, like the fizz has been toned down quite a lot. The camaraderie, I think, is probably diminished quite a bit as well. There's not as much there's not much drive to stay on camp on weekends and you know what I mean, and spend time with the boys that you're working with.
That develops them bonds as well, you know, when you
yeah.
socialise together as well. I liken it too. I was what's affectionately known as a block rat. You had the homing pigeons that go home every weekend, and everyone would be stood sort of cooing out the windows to them as they disappeared to the cars on a Friday afternoon. And then I was one of those die-hard few, the block rats that hung about in Colchester and went down the pub with the rest of the lads. And, you know, you form them bonds, and so they're the people I'm still kind of close with now. You know, so yeah, I always hear about the standards changing kind of over the years and stuff. The argument with Power Edge was, well, when they did milling as part of P Company, was that they didn't wear head guards. You just see the debates online about, I had head guards on, or I didn't have head guards. It makes me laugh, like it's a massive thing, but it does always make me chuckle. Yeah, so kind of moving forward in that in your career. I know recently we're not going to go into too much detail, but you've not long come back from Iraq. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did 6 months. We were stationed in Erbil, so yeah, it was a good tour. I enjoyed it a lot. Yeah, it was good. Well, it was hot.
We spoke a little bit while we were kind of wandering about and stuff about, you know, the difference in Iraq now, and like you said, you didn't necessarily feel like the threat was there when it came to vehicle-borne IEDs or kind of being shot at, but the kind of whole aspect around warfare's changed. And you said that you was very aware of a drone threat. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, we were doing a lot of driving in Iraq, and there was never really. We had ECM, we had all of the kit and that for it, but it was rarely used for any of the patrols we were going out on because there just wasn't really a threat of IDs and stuff. But drones were a massive one. We didn't really notice the drones as much at the start of the tour. It was pretty quiet. They picked up in the middle. I don't know if you remember the 12-day war. The drones picked up quite a bit then. We were getting sometimes like 4, 5, 6 a night. So yeah, that was definitely a bigger threat. But as you say, like, I think warfare has just changed a lot in the past 10, 20 years. Yeah,
you could kind of almost, I'm not going to say see the threat, because you couldn't with the vehicle-borne IDs, but like when it comes to the drones, we've all seen the footage on social media and on the news. It's a very, there's no escaping a drone attack.
Yeah.
They come obviously from above and they just target you, and it looks horrific. We see it going on now in the Ukraine and stuff like that. Yeah. So I think it's a very different place. Did you feel sort of kind of safe when you was operating around Iraq?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah? Definitely, yeah. The base we were on was very safe. I mean, apart from the drones, you went out of camp and you didn't really feel like there was much that was going to happen. As opposed to, I'm sure, like when you were there was probably a lot of times where you'd go out and you'd almost be expecting some kind of problems. Yeah. Like, we never had that problem, but yeah.
Well, it's nice to see that it's moved on and it has become safer. That's always a good thing.
Yeah.
But we don't think the weather's going to calm down much, so I don't know, should we try and brave it and go for a wander?
We'll go for a wander, yeah.
Come on then, let's do it. Right, nice one. Oh, there you go, buddy. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Bit drier now.
Yeah, a bit dry.
How did you find out?
It was good, yeah.
Yeah? First experience?
Yeah, it is my first, yeah. It was nice though.
Perfect weather?
Weather was lovely, yeah.
Look, I said it a million times, you know, it don't matter how many times you come to Brecon, the weather, 4 seasons in one day, 100%. And today is no different, you know. So kind of, we covered sort of your career and stuff. What's your plans moving forward? You know, what you're thinking? Going to stay in? Thinking about leaving?
Completely undecided at the moment, but I think if I was to stay in, I think I'd probably end up doing some career courses, maybe recce, snipers, that kind of thing. Keep my fitness up. Potentially do something like Pathfinders, but
good effort.
That's in like a good few years, maybe when I'm maybe a bit more experienced and I've been in my job role for a bit longer. But we'll see. If not, not Civvy Street in it, but we'll have to see. We'll maybe fire service, police, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, all good careers. All good. My advice would be is like if I could sort of, I don't know, look back on my career, and I kind of spoke to you earlier about this. I said, like, you know, I was in from 17 to 24. So I was a young sort of teen, well, you know, I was a teenager and then early 20s. My experiences, it was about going to the pub. Whatever you do in that period of life, it's about going to the pub. If I had my time again, my recommendations to anyone would be do every course that the British Army offer to you.
Yeah.
It's free, they're paying for it, they're experiences.
Sure, yeah.
You know, you soak them up, you talk of pathfinders, I'd say go further, have a crack at selection. You know, recently spoke to Lindsay Bruce, who's ex-SES, you know, great career in Special Forces. It's there, the options are. My words of advice again would be not looking back and thinking I wish I should have done and having the regrets. My biggest regret is probably not doing more courses, and it's certainly not going on, you know, having a go at selection, you know. And the kind of advice, if that's not the case, there are plenty of careers out there with the fire service and the police as well. But I think for me, the first year of leaving, and you've probably heard this from other soldiers that have left, you know people that have left already and stuff like that. And do they talk of the first year?
They do. They say it's difficult. Transitioning from that kind of life to civil life, it's bound to be difficult. But a lot of them sign back on. A lot of them do. Yeah. They leave. They sign back on pretty fast. They realise that they're not interested in what Civvy Street has to offer, and then they join back and do long careers. But
yeah, I think the problem is you walk away from like-minded individuals. Yeah. You're surrounded by a support. Unbeknown to you or known to you, whichever way you want to look at it, you're surrounded by a support network of other people. And I've talked about it many times. You walk out them gates and you leave the military for the last time. Yeah. You think you're going to be down there the following weekend, or you think, and you know, for me it was something like 8 years had passed. Yeah. And that first year is a very, very difficult transition where you're really trying to figure out what you want to do. Yeah. You think you're going to walk in and be happy doing some form of civilian job, and some people are, some people aren't, but it's something definitely to think about, you know, kind of moving forward. And like, all I'll say is think long and hard about kind of what you want to do going, because the military's, I recommend it to anyone. I know it's got its issues, but what people don't understand is there's a lot of roles within the military that you can do and career paths, and it opens a lot of doors for you. You know?
Definitely, I can imagine that, yeah. Again, I mean, I was saying before about the mindset and stuff and the discipline, all the things that you learn in your army career, you definitely can carry them over into Civvy Street, and it definitely helps in more ways than one. But I think it's also good for people to, when they're thinking of leaving, to start looking for work a lot longer prior to actually leaving. A lot
sooner before
definitely,
they leave.
Yeah, because it gives you that time to have a meddle around with what you want to do and get things lined up, and if plan A fails, you can do plan B, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Do they still offer a resettlement when you leave?
I think they do, yeah.
Yeah. And again, the resettlement, obviously, for the people that are watching, will be they offer you a course that you do to a sum of money, don't they, that they pay for. And I'd always say to people, think long and hard about what course you do when you leave the military. I did telecommunications and then never touched it again after I'd done the course. Yeah. It's a waste of 3 or 4 grand. But look, George, it's been a pleasure chatting to you.
It's been a pleasure.
Hope you enjoyed being soaking wet at the top of Penny Fan. But nice one, brother.
Nice
Wish
one.
you luck in the future.
Cheers, thank you very much.